Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well and welcome back to another video. Chapter 5 of the Book of Boba Fett caught us all by surprise, but a very welcome surprise. We see Din Djarin back on our screens after so long, finally seeing what his story looks like after the epic Season 2 final of The Mandalorian. Throughout the episode it comes to light that Mando is struggling to wield the Dark Sabre, from not just a physical standpoint but also a mental one, which I think could also foreshadow the mental toll the Mandalorian throne would bring Din if he was to rule Mandalore without the necessary training. The episode ends with Mando agreeing to help Boba Fett, but first he needs to visit Grogu, and let's not forget who Grogu's currently training with. Before we jump in, if you're new to the channel, remember to subscribe, and if you think Din Djarin will receive some form of lightsaber training in the future, let me know who by in the comments. So right from the start of the episode we see Din wielding the Dark Sabre, cutting through the Ketonians with relative ease, but upon training with the armourer we see Din begin to struggle. With every passing swing of the blade it becomes heavier and heavier. But when he duels Paz Vizsla, who is actually a descendant of Tar Vizsla, the first Mandalorian Jedi who created the Dark Sabre, he's actually struggling to even lift it at this point and loses it in combat, only to win the fight and retain possession of the blade through his more tried and trusted forms of combat. The armourer tells Din that he is fighting against the blade rather than fighting with it, which is a property that I'm not familiar with lightsabers in general, but this is slightly different. Due to his lack of focus, his mind is clearly on Grogu almost this entire time, which is quite obvious to us watching. And it's a fight he will not win. The Dark Sabre is simply too powerful for him. At the end of chapter 5, Din basically tells Fennec that he will help Boba, but first he needs to check in on Grogu. I mean, he didn't say Grogu, but we all know who it is. Just to make sure he's okay, to check in on him. Maybe Din sees Grogu's Jedi training as more of a, a boarding school type of vibe, where they will come home still now and then. I'd also be intrigued to know what Luke's take would be on this if that is the case. Will he follow the same path laid out by the previous generations of Jedi, who, as we all know, believe that attachment should be forbidden as it could lead to the dark side? Or is he seeing the error of their ways and he brings forward a new Jedi way? Once Din reunites with Grogu and Luke, whether that be on Endor, one of the countless Jedi temples throughout the galaxy, or Luke's own Jedi Academy, or just somewhere else away from the Empire, I suspect it won't take long before Luke takes an interest in the Dark Sabre that he'd probably just see hanging from Mando's belt. I wonder if Luke actually knows what the Dark Sabre is. I mean, perhaps he's heard tales of it or learnt about it on his quest across the galaxy since Return of the Jedi, but it'd also be interesting to see Luke take his reaction to the weapon as well. I think Luke Skywalker at this point in time would be happy to teach Din how to properly wield the Dark Sabre. And even though Din Djarin, as far as we know, isn't Force sensitive, the Jedi teachings are something that can benefit even the non-Force sensitives, be it with the skills of lightsaber combat, which would, I'd imagine, be transferable to other forms of combat non-lightsaber related, all the way to the meditation side of things and how to clear one's mind, to find inner peace with oneself. And maybe, just maybe, it's in this moment that we get a slight tease that Din could be Force sensitive, kind of like when they teased it with Grogu back in Season 1. I think an episode where we get Din, Luke and Grogu training together could possibly be one of the greatest Star Wars moments of all time. I think we'd really be in for a treat, but then it also begs the question, who will rule Mandalore? Because things are kind of up in the air of that at the moment, in my opinion. As things stand, Din has the right to lay claim to the Mandalorian throne. However, from a story perspective, it could still even be Bo-Katan at some stage, as we know that that's something she wants to do, or even Boba Fett. Now, technically they wouldn't have to beat him in combat to take it. He could lose it to someone else and then they step in and beat the person that beat Din for it, if that makes sense. I'd personally like to see Boba become the true crime lord of Tatooine, possessing power that rivals even that of the Hutts in their prime, and Din Djarin become the next ruler of Mandalore. Not necessarily being a Jedi Mandalorian or a Mandalorian Jedi, or having Force powers either, although I think that would be pretty cool. And I think eventually, after his time comes, he'd eventually pass the baton on to his adopted son Grogu, who we can pretty much say for sure at this point will be a Mandalorian Jedi. As I mentioned earlier, let me know in the comments if Mando was to receive some form of lightsaber training, who do you think that would be from? Perhaps Luke, Ahsoka, Alcastis, or even someone else? Remember to subscribe if you're new around here, and leave a like if you enjoyed today's video. Until next time, may the Force be with you.